Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning into the channel again and watching this video about Hot Rod Drag Week 2023. I'm going to recap how that event went for my dad and I. My dad went with me on this week-long trip throughout North and South Carolina and Tennessee, and we just had a really good time and did fairly well, not as well as I had hoped, but we ended up doing pretty good. We were in the Street Machine Eliminator class with the old Raven the 8-Ball Camaro, which is a 10-0 index class, and we finished the week in the 7th place spot, which qualified us for a bracket race on the last day of the fastest 32 cars. And you'll see that in the video, and I promptly went out first round. Looking back on it, I should have done some things a little bit different, but that's the thing with racing. You learn as you go and you get better with time. But I just wanted to start out by saying thank you to everyone for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, because that really means a lot to me, that you guys take your time to watch these videos that I put out. I do know that it's been a few weeks since the race, and I apologize for taking so long to get this video out. Right now I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro and just the camera on my cell phone, so it ends up taking me quite a while to edit my videos whenever it's not just a real quick snippet. And so I'm open to suggestions. If you guys have any advice on what type of camera I use or what type of editing software is out there that kind of speed up this process, because this video alone I probably spent 4 hours on editing and getting, set up kind of the way I thought it needed to be. So this is just a recap of Hot Rod Drag Week 2023, and I hope you enjoy the video that I put together for you. Good morning, everybody. I'm here at the hotel this morning and thought I'd give everybody a quick update before we actually get to the track and things get loud and you can't hear what I'm saying. We did pretty well yesterday, made 2 runs. The second run I ran a 10:35, which puts us in 12th place currently at Hot Rod Drag Week 2023. And we made the drive up to Rockingham from Darlington, about 175 miles. We ran into one issue. We had a spark plug on the passenger side fall out about 100 miles into the trip, so we had to stop and cure that problem. Other than that, things went pretty well. Stopped and helped one guy, stopped and at all our checkpoints and got some dinner and ended up getting to our hotel about midnight last night. So we are fixing to load up and head to Rockingham and see what we can do today. Okay, so as you saw, we ran Darlington pretty well, and then we made our way up to Rockingham. And about 30 minutes after we left Darlington, we realized, okay, we're going to have to stop and do something about this car dragging the ground. The car is just way too low in the front. I didn't really want to change the shock settings for the track, because the car does work well on the track and never really had any traction issues or weight distribution issues, so I didn't really want to do a whole lot of adjusting to the shocks. But we pulled over probably within 30 minutes of leaving Darlington. At the very least, at that point, we took off the trans blanket off the transmission because it was dragging the ground, and took that off. And then, like I said in the video, on the passenger side, the number, I think it would be the number 4 spark plug hole on my engine, at some point it has kind of been cross-threaded a little bit, so you got to be really kind of gentle with it and make sure that it's lined up. It usually takes 2 or 3 times for me to get it just right and get it in there nice and tight. And so I don't think the last time I did it, I had it in there tight enough. And yeah, we went through some really, really rough roads, and it shook that spark plug out of that number 4 hole. So we had a major exhaust leak, and just so happened where it happened was right next to a fire station. So we pulled into their little parking area, and a couple of the guys that came out, they had been seeing the cars go by all day and were, you know, real helpful and real glad to talk to us and kind of figure out, hey, what's going on and all this. So that was great meeting them. They loaned us a wrench, which was helpful, and really nice of them to come out and kind of give us a hand. But we got the problem solved, got back on the road, made it to our checkpoints without any trouble. And then when we made a 1020 run, very first pass at Darlington, decided, okay, one and done, we're hitting the road. And we decided at that point that we're going to adjust the front shocks up for the road to give us some more clearance. And let me tell you, that made a world of difference. It seemed like every dip, every bump between Darlington and Rockingham, we scraped the ground. But after we made those adjustments after Rockingham, the car did a lot better on the road. No more scraping the ground. I mean, yeah, we hit a few bad potholes here and there, but for the most part, no more trouble with that. Let me think what else. Oh, when we left Rockingham, we were only able to cruise about, I don't know, 45, 50 mile an hour. And so we decided, hey, we'll get 3 bags of ice and stuff those around the engine. That helped very, very minimally. And so we decided, okay, we're going to have to do something drastic, and decided that we would stop at an Advanced Auto Parts and get us a fan. And you'll see here in just a minute how that worked out for us. But I also wanted you to kind of notice from that data log that I shared, you can see that 1-2 shift I'm getting on the rev limiter. And I'm going to explain that a little bit here in just a minute whenever we get closer to day 5. For the adventure, right guys? So we were only able to cruise about 45, 50 mile an hour because I've got 411 gears in this thing. So we decided to stop by Advanced Auto Parts and get us an extra fan to try to cool it down a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more speed on the highway. And my dad took his knife to cut the little straps off on the back side, poked a hole in the radiator. So, of course, we're at Advanced Auto Parts, but they don't have one. So we crimped the frame down, crimped the little tube down on the radiator with some needle nose pliers, and we're gonna fire this baby up in a minute and see what she does. So, hey, we're getting really good at making do with what we got. Okay, so I thought I needed to explain a couple things a little bit more. Yeah, we poked a hole in the radiator, which was great. And my dad took the needle nose pliers and pinched that core, that line right there through the radiator shut. After that, no more leaks, no issues with leaking at all. The radiator is just a stock radiator out of the 96 Camaro, so it's not the best cooling system in the world. And if we do another drag and drive, I'm probably going to invest in like a 2 or 3 pass radiator instead of just the single pass that it currently has, because that overheating issue really hindered us on the street. You know, like I said, in the heat of the day, it was really frustrating. I mean, we're only able to go like 40, 50 mile an hour. But once the sun started going down, we could bump the speed up to, 50, 60 mile an hour and make some decent headway. But yeah, after we got the radiator issue solved, then we had to refill it. And me and my dad, neither one of us are too familiar with the LS Motors cooling systems. And so we kept still having an overheating issue. And we figured out that we've got to purge the air out of the system, and that took us probably another hour. So we ended up being at Advanced Auto Parts for probably a good 2.5 hours, which really put us behind. And so then we're driving later into the night, trying to make our way up to Bristol, and we finally get off the interstate. That was another thing, was a lot of interstate driving this particular day. And we decided we were going to stop at a cookout restaurant to get us some dinner. And so we pull into their parking lot, and they don't have a place to sit down. They don't have a place for you to go inside. So we decided, okay, well, we'll just go next door to Chick-fil-A. And as I was trying to go around their building to get out of their parking lot, I realized, hey, this is just a drive-through. I can't go around the building. I have to sit through the drive-through. So I tried to back out of their drive-through, and it ended up backing the passenger rear quarter panel into their little dumpster enclosure and put a pretty good sized gash and dent back there by the tail light, and I'll show you guys a picture of that. So yeah, that was not cool. And then when we finally did get to Bristol, we're working, getting the car switched over, adjusting the shocks on the front back down, getting our slicks back on and all this. And this guy comes to check out the car, and he's like, hey man, I really smell transmission fluid. And we're like, we never really noticed that, but we start checking transmission fluid. Turns out it's low. So there was a lot of driving up and down mountains that day, so we kind of attributed it to that, maybe overheating a little bit. So I went down to AMSOIL, got some transmission fluid, we put it in, and everything seemed to be okay. I also wanted to say thank you to Left 4 Dead Garage, who's one of my subscribers. They stopped by and talked to me for a little bit, and that meant a whole lot to me for you to come and just say hey. And if you're ever out at one of these races where we are, feel free to come by and talk and chat, and I really appreciate that. And go follow his channel too. He's got some pretty cool videos. I just watched a video he put out this week about working on a rear end on a 3100 pickup truck. So go check him out too, Left 4 Dead Garage. And yeah, a lot of times, I'm working on the car doing stuff, but I'm always happy to talk to you guys and get to know you. So I really appreciated him stopping by. So with that, I'll show you how we did at Bristol. Alright everybody, we are in the lanes at Hot Rod Drag Week 2023 at Bristol, Tennessee. Ran a 10:20 at Rockingham yesterday to keep us in 12th place in the class. And the drive here was an adventure. We'll go over that some other time. But we're here getting ready to make our first pass in Bristol. And appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you. We did pretty decent at Bristol, and then when we left Bristol, one of our checkpoints was this little bowling alley, and before we got there, we actually had to go up two pretty sizable mountains and come down, and so that was an adventure, especially in the heat of the day, you know, up the interstate, you know, going 45. Fortunately, there were a lot of, you know, trucks that were going about the same speed, so I was able to kind of hang back with them and not get run over. But also on the way down from the top of the mountains, what I did is I left the car running and I just put the car in neutral and coasted down the mountains, and that allowed us to get pretty good speed up and not overheat the motor. And then, you know, I don't want to freak anybody out. The car is still running. I still had power steering, power brakes, and all that. And I never let the car get out of control in any way, shape, or form. But as we got down towards the bottom of the mountain, as I started coming back up, once I reached about 45 mile an hour or so, I would shift the car back down into second gear and, you know, go from there like normal, being able to shift from second back into third and get the car up to 50, 60 mile an hour. But at the bowling alley, I took a picture of several cars that were there. I thought it was just a pretty cool picture, seeing all the cars parked together. And then while we were there, my dad checked the transmission fluid again. It was low again. Again, you know, we're not really getting a leak per se, but it's just, you know, because we're running the car so hard, we refilled the transmission fluid there. Then this is pretty funny. So as we were going to leave the bowling alley, everybody's doing burnouts. So I decided, hey, I'm going to do the obligatory burnout, you know. Well, I accidentally left my phone on the roof of the car. So we go to do a burnout, and phone takes a dive into the street. But fortunately, I had a good case on it, so it didn't do any damage to the phone. And I was using the phone for my speedometer, and we got down the road about a quarter mile. And I was like, where's my phone? And I told my dad, I was like, call my phone. And sure enough, some guy saw it come off the car and picked it up off the street. So we went back to the bowling alley, got that from it. So I had to leave that parking lot, you know, in shame for the second time a little bit. But got my phone and got back on the road and headed down to day 4 at Carolina Dragway. All right, everybody, we have made it from Bristol to our hotel in Augusta, Georgia, and we ended up running a 10:36 today. So I don't know where that puts us. Everybody was a little slow, and everybody was anxious to get back on the road. A total of 264 miles we drove today. Whew. Man, that was hot, long, tiring, but I'm glad we're here. I wanted to show you guys something, so give me a second to turn the camera around. Alright, so I was going to show you guys how we had this baby packed up. We got all our tools, clothes, tent, tires, and everything, gas can, all stuffed in the back of this 1996 Camaro. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's our 2 rear slicks sitting right there in what once was the back seat. We have got this baby filled to the gills. But she did good for us. She got us here in one piece. Thanks for watching. Okay, so as you saw from the time slip and the data, on the time slip I ran my fastest mile per hour ever in the car, 137 mile per hour, and I think that has to do with either the way the track is set up at Carolina Dragway or the timing system itself. At the end of the track, it's like it slopes down slightly and then comes back up, and I'm sure you could tell the starting line also. You kind of, after you do your burnout, you kind of go up a little hill to stage. And so I don't know why, I've gained 3-4 miles an hour than what I'm accustomed to, but the time was still 10:36. And you could also see in the video where I hit the rev limiter on that 1-2 shift, and you could see kind of the nitrous and fuel spit back up through the carburetor. That's from me hitting the rev limiter. And so after that day, we go back to the hotel and I'm like, okay, why am I losing 1/10 to 2/10 here? Because I had previously in testing run a 10:15 in the car and I ran a 10:20 at Rockingham. So I was trying to figure out, okay, why am I getting 10:35, 10:36, 10:37? Where is this going? And so what I figured out is I had my rev limiter, I had my shift light on my tachometer set at 7,000 RPM. And just as quick as I come out off the line, whenever that shift light got to 7,000, I was not able to react quick enough and shift the car before I actually got on the rev limiter at 7,500 RPM. So what I decided I'd do is move my shift light back down to 6,800, because whenever I had it at 6,800, I wasn't hitting the rev limiter at all. And so that's what I ended up doing. I moved my shift light back to 6,800, and as you'll see from the data logs at Darlington, that fixed my issue, and it got us that 1/10 back because I had been on the rev limiter. So that's how we solved that issue, and again, one and done at Carolina, and made our way back to Darlington for day 5. ran a 10:19 there at Darlington, and that was my last time slip that I turned in for the event. And that put my average at 10:29 for the week. And then what they did for the 32 car bracket race is they took a tenth off of what your average was, and that was your dial-in. So my dial-in ended up being 10:19. So I knew going into this race that it was going to be I was going to have to be really careful not to break out that first run. And so I did let off right at the line, but it wasn't enough. I ended up breaking out anyway. There's also a picture in here of our tent tied to the back of my car because there was a tropical storm off the coast of South Carolina. We were getting like a 20-mile-an-hour wind off of that thing. So our tent was wanting to kind of bend and flop and try to fly away. So we ended up tying it to the car, and it kind of looked like a parachute. So I thought that was funny. So anyway, the next video, the last video, is of the first round of the elimination race, and watch how I did. So I really like that picture of me and my dad with the car. My good friend that I made on this trip, Chris Thompson, his son, little Chris Thompson, took that picture of us, and I really appreciated him doing that. And as you saw, I broke out the first round, but it was all right because I ran my quickest time ever in the car at 10:08. And looking back on it, yeah, I probably should have just gotten my nose in front of the Jeep Cherokee and let out and made it to the second round, but I wasn't thinking like that. I was just thinking like normal, go through my normal routine and let out at the stripe and hopefully not break out. But ended up going too fast, but that's okay. If you've made it to this far in the video, I just want to say thank you again for watching. I hope that this video maybe inspires you to get into the hobby of racing and see why we enjoy it so much, and maybe even do a drag and drive event like Hot Rod Drag Week or Sick Week or Rocky Mountain Race Week or anything like that. I think my next video is going to be my top 5 things you need to know if you want to do a drag and drive event, like my advice to you if you want to go and participate in one of those events. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully I'll get that out here in the next week or two. And again, just thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.